Hello, this is Phoenix Flynn. I want to take some time to talk about reincarnation. Reincarnation is not entirely an unnatural process, however, the reincarnation that most are familiar with, beings resetting, going through the cycle of forgetfulness, the only actual beauty in that process is to to relive, is to re-experience, and to rediscover. However, essentially the same process occurs except for the fresh experience is experienced. The same processes that occur, past lives exist, purity and honesty within, origins of the beings, first beginnings in that particular universe, in existence, realized as well. However, reincarnation in most cases is in unnatural ways. Besides past lives being on ET planets and technologically advanced worlds, most cases of reincarnation are inconsistent with evolution and naturality. Many have been reincarnated on planet Earth over and over. Ask yourself this, does that sound necessary? Unless this being truly has a potential to reveal or express to enough persons or in a book to assist and further evolve beings of that time and so on and so forth up until this point. It's not in vain. Their efforts are acknowledged, always acknowledged that is of potential and coexistence. But in many ways, a lot of those efforts are not being expressed now. However, the efforts of world protesting and pretty safe to say ET disclosure is pretty imminent. Those persons who are involved with this whole process of awakening, they don't realize the depths of where it began and those who died and reincarnated to try and make possible. So there is a very intense realization to reveal to itself, to that being, and to all in the actuality. It's not in vain, because those beings who should have been heard and weren't by the beings surrounding them at that moment, and the quantification value being if they wrote a book or have something of an essence that carried on in time that could be viewed by many or by so many, that's also calibrated as well. Their gifts and their reliefs and acknowledgments will be of divinity. Reincarnation with insects. This is extremely key because this is where the bridge occurs with what of beings of unnaturality, such as government, ETs who have sought control or sought to perfect their genetics, etc. What do they become? Well, it goes with the saying, although I'm probably not quoting it right, but you'll know what I'm talking about. Would you harm a fly? Well, okay, let's look at a fly. What does it do? Essentially, a fly does nothing. A fly is part of a diminished whatever's left of that being. Its origins are still there, but a fly essentially does nothing. And, in fact, throws up on itself and takes its hands, or whatever you want to say, and yeah, I'm going to skip the details, but that's what a fly does. Fly's purpose is nothingness. A wasp, they have a defense mechanism. Defense mechanisms of such sorts is to say that that being at some point of their turning point itself was probably a being who had also defense mechanisms. This is to say, I would narrow it down to military force, military persons. Um, Even the exoskeleton of a wasp expresses as though armor. The same can be said as um, certain types of beetles that have also certain defense mechanisms. These were beings at one time that were pure and honest, as all beings truly are, but interaction level, that's dependent. And depending on the being's course and interactions with whatever that might be, is the outcome, is the to become of within reincarnation. Um, you look at another example, worms. Um, they take the time to hide under the ground. I think they just eat dirt. I don't know, but worms is to say a being that at a turning point, in a turning point to say a key evolutional circumstance and choice, you could say, destiny, presented. I would say worms are like the sum of cowardness, or to hide, like an ostrich with its head in the sand. It's just the saying, get your head out of the sand and realize the truth. Um, these metaphors have key signature origins that many don't realize. Mosquitoes, um, parasites, they also were beings as well. They don't, baseline beings don't start out like that. You don't start from an insect. Uh, you don't start out as an insect at all. You start out as a being, and you work your way up. But only in unnatural circumstances can you work your way down. This is unheard of, but unnatural circumstances. So, a mosquito is a perfect example of a being at one time that decided to want to take away from others, a leech effect. I think parasites is quite self-explanatory now, since you can see the basis of how this can be. Viruses is the same thing. Instead of being a physical anything, it's just a wisp in the air, which the being is actually at a more drastically limited level of nearly nothingness, just a wisp. Essentially what's going to happen is a lot of these insects, same thing with ET insects as well, a lot with certain types of ET life insects, although I don't know entirely of because I have not seen, but do exist. And nothing should have a defense mechanism if all is pure and natural and honest, correct? Okay. Just as we say, no guns, peace, We don't want defense mechanisms, we want peace and coexistence. What's the point of protecting yourself from anything if all are in peace